Next up is the brilliant Marisha Lakiani, the Chief Marketing Officer at Mindvalley, the premier personal growth education platform. In her talk, she's breaking down how she's currently growth hacking Mindvalley to $150 million in annual revenue. Now, my team and I have actually been working closely with Marisha and her marketing team for the last 2 years. So we've seen firsthand how they run incredibly successful marketing tests, which is what her talk will cover. She'll be sharing her winning method for experimentation and how you can apply it to your business as well. Marisha, the stage is yours.
Hi guys, I'm Marisha Lakiani and I work for an edtech company called Mindvalley. Today I'm going to talk about how all the big companies like Netflix, Amazon, and including Mindvalley are experimenting like crazy and how you can learn from this and experiment too. So we're going to cover 3 things: why all the big companies are running about 10,000 experiments, the 5 biggest mistakes that even the pros make when it comes to experimentation so you can avoid them, and lastly, how I am growth hacking Mindvalley to reach 150 million in revenue, which is 45% year-on-year growth. So why are you here? You're here because you want rapid, sustainable, and tactical growth. And you're invested. You're probably listening to podcasts, reading books, attending conferences. You want to make a difference, and I want to help you. But for that, you need to understand one thing, that the growth curve does not look like a hockey stick. It looks like this, and it's made up of small wins that compound over time to achieve exponential results. So why do we test? We test for 2 reasons. The first reason is innovation. We test to validate our radical ideas. And the second reason is optimization. We test to make things better and improve them. The same way you would want to test and improve your landing page or your ad creative or your checkout. And ultimate goal is to validate good ideas from bad ideas. And we want to prove with data that these ideas work. And we want to know by how much. Is it a 5% boost in revenue? Is it a 100% boost in revenue? What is the impact on the business? And by doing this, we can achieve steady state growth. That's exactly why Netflix and Amazon are testing like this. They can't afford bad ideas because with bad ideas, they lose millions. So they need to make sure that every idea is validated and approved as a good idea. And by doing this, even you can achieve exponential growth just like them. Who's testing? Everyone is testing, and they are running as much experiments as possible because the ultimate goal is to win as much as possible. Because remember, small wins compound to big gains. And don't even take it from me. Take it from the head of Amazon himself. He said that the success of Amazon is a function of how many experiments they do a year, a month, a week, and even a day. That's a lot of experiments. So my question to you is, how many tests are you running? Are you running 1? Are you running 5? Or are you running none? And why should you listen to me? I am not some internet marketing guru. I don't even claim to be one. I'm literally someone like you. I'm someone who's constantly learning, who's trying to grow a business. And sometimes I fail, sometimes I succeed, but I always make sure I learn. And I work for an edtech company called Mindvalley. We have 15 million students worldwide. These students are located in 193 different countries. We have localized to 6 different languages. And last year, we achieved 100 million in revenue. This year, we want to reach 150 million in revenue. And I have all the marketing functions reporting to me, including performance channels, social media, marketing tag, growth design, all of it. And these teams generate 98% of the company's revenue. That's 98 million. And some interesting things we achieved last year. So we created this new creative that actually got us 2.7x net ROAS, not ROAS, net ROAS. Then our localization division, it scaled 98% year on year. Our social media revenue doubled. We grew our subscription percentage. So right now we're at 50% subscription. Well, last year we were at like 15. and our customer lifetime value grew 40%. These are amazing results, but how was this achieved? It was achieved through experimentation. In fact, you wouldn't even believe it, but localization, it started as a test. It started as an experiment. And it became so successful that now it's a massive revenue stream. And all of this, there are massive revenue drivers, but they started as a test and an idea. So what do? My board of directors thinks I print money because I don't grow my team. I don't ask for more marketing budget, but the revenue and the numbers grow. What I think I do, I think I'm Steve Jobs, but with a mix of Priyanka Chopra. And I think I'm a visionary. I think that I'm able to innovate very fast and I'm able to scale businesses very fast. But what I really do is I experiment like crazy. I manage this massive Airtable across Mindvalley. And every function, every person has their test uploaded here. I can watch, monitor, track, score, look at refinements, give feedback on any single test. So how can you achieve these exponential results? There's something that you need to understand, that testing needs to follow a very specific testing methodology, and you need to follow very specific testing protocols. And before we go into those protocols, I want to cover what A/B testing actually is for the sake of the people that might not be familiar. So how A/B testing works is that you have an idea and you want to validate this idea. So your idea could be that I believe that by changing the headline on my page to match my creative, I'm going to see a 20% boost on landing page sign-up rates. Great idea. How do you know for sure? So you need to test it. So you have your version A of your page, which is your regular page. You create a version B, which is your new headline. Then you take 100% of the traffic and you split it 50-50, and you just see how both convert. Now the winner becomes the new standard. So if version B converts better, version B is now the default version A. And that's how A/B testing works. You're using data to validate your ideas. But there's a lot of mistakes that people make when it comes to testing, and that's what we want to cover today. So mistake number one is not testing enough. And what you need to do instead is you need to test as much as possible so you can learn fast, and you need to win as many tests as possible so you can scale fast. And you need to focus on tests that are going to have a massive impact. You don't want a 5 or 10% win. You want a 30, 40% win. So you need to focus on tests that are high value tests. Next, mistake number 2 is A/B testing. So what we discussed before is an A/B test. And what you need to do instead is an AAB test. This gives you cleaner data and more accurate conclusions. So what is an AAB test? Sounds weird, but this is what it is. So remember we spoke about A/B testing, where you send 100% of traffic to standard and then split 50% to your variation page, and you see how both convert. Now, what happens when you depend on technology is that there is a 5 or 10% room for error. So if you had 1,000 people, 100 people might remain on standard and they won't fall into the testing pool, but they skew your data on standard. So if they convert, they skew the data. So instead, what we do is we do an AAB test. That means you have your standard page, the default page. You duplicate that and make an exact replica and call it control. And then you create your idea on variation. So control is a duplicate of standard and variation is your idea. Then you have 1,000 people going to standard, so 100% of your traffic. You split 50% to control and 50% to variation. But what happens here is that if anyone gets left out of the test because of any technological glitch, they remain on standard. So if you had 1,000 people and 100 people got left out of the test, 900 people get split equally to control and variation. So that's 450, 450. And by doing this, you get accurate, conclusive data. Mistake number 3 is not having a clear hypothesis. Having a clear hypothesis is super important because by doing so, you're having a clear outline about what you want to test. So what is a hypothesis? Hypothesis is like this. It's a statement that defines clearly what the success of the test looks like. So for example, if I believe that by customizing my headlines to match my creative, I'm going to see a 20% boost in landing page conversion. That is my hypothesis. And this is based on research. So I cannot just guess. I need to literally do the research and see what is happening in the industry. What are other people seeing? define what is the measure of success, craft the statement, and then validate the statement by testing. And by doing this, you actually make sure that your tests are aligned to the business goals. And that's what you want, because you don't want to test just blindly. You want to make sure that what you're testing is actually moving the needle and you're testing it correctly by measuring the right metric. And a hypothesis can solve that problem. Mistake number 4 is they are just executing tests and ending them when they see results. That's not how you test. So you need to test for specific sales cycles. Example, when you start a test on a Monday, you need to end the test on a Monday. And ideally, you should be testing for at least 2 cycles, so 2 weeks or 4 weeks. You shouldn't end the test prematurely. And why you need to do this is because this factors in seasonality. Because some businesses, they have a spike at 6 p.m. or they have a spike on a Friday. And by measuring sales cycles and keeping the test open for longer, you'll be able to factor in the seasonality. So your data is more conclusive. And you should also not end a test until it's 95% statistically significant. You can calculate this online through calculators. Just plug in your data and it will tell you. But the meaning of this is that 95% of the time you run the test, you're going to get the same results. This gives you certainty. So before you roll it out, you know for sure that this test is actually going to move the needle. The next mistake number 5 is sample size. So people don't calculate how many people they need to run the test on or by before they set up the test. So they are running tests for so long, they're not getting conclusive data and they get frustrated. And what they need to do instead is use a sample size calculator. There's many online. Just Google sample size calculator and plug in your numbers and it will tell you. But by doing this, you actually save your high impact test, the big win test, for the high traffic funnels. So you get data faster. And you save your low impact test, the test that you're not very confident about, for the small or low traffic funnels. And by doing this, you don't take big risks, because if you ran a test that you weren't certain about on a high traffic funnel, you will just burn through traffic. So you need to be very careful about where you want to run the test. Big wins on high traffic funnels, small wins, uncertain ideas on low traffic funnels. Mistake number 6 is refinements. I see this all the time. People run a test and then they close the test and decide if the test was a success or the test was a failure. But this is not how you test. So what you need to do instead is, when you want to close a test, you need to sit down and understand why the test failed and why it succeeded, and then plan follow-up tests with refinements. So if you feel that this could have been better with better copy, then set up another test with better copy. And you do this for the test that failed, you do this for the test that was successful, because all you need to do is keep moving forward and keep having bigger wins. So how am I using testing to growth hack Mindvalley? I have mapped out Mindvalley like a massive funnel. And I've identified 7 metrics that we need to move to growth hack Mindvalley. And I've dedicated people to moving these metrics. So their primary job is to innovate, ideate, test, validate, but to move these metrics. And not by 5 or 10%, but by 60, 70%. And by doing this, we have achieved steady state growth at 45% year-on-year growth. And these guys are only focused on high impact tests. They don't want a 5 or 10% win. They want a 40, 50, 60% win. So with that, I really hope I inspired you to test a lot more, and that you feel equipped to understand what testing is and what are the specific testing protocols you need to follow to achieve small wins that compound over time for big results. And I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to run at least 3 tests this week. You can run tests on anything. There is no limits. You can run tests on your ads. Something that I like to do is test different variations of the first 3 seconds or 5 seconds and play around, or take different segments of my ad and move them around and see how they convert, or play around with the CTA and just see how that works. You can also test on your sales page. I mean, you can add a sticky button, you can add a headline, you can add a video, play around and just see how they all convert. But test. And if you want to share your test with me, feel free to write to me on LinkedIn, share your ideas, share your results, ask for refinements. I'm happy to help. And with that, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for choosing to be here and spending time with me today, because this means a lot to me.